everyone, this is Star Zenith 33, Laura Francesca here on the podcast, and I'm going to be talking about the astro weather as the moon just jumped into Aquarius. Okay, it just barely jumped in there at 1 degree, and it is a very powerful time right now because it's coming together with Pluto. So join me in there as I talk about the astro weather and what the heck is going on with our emotions and our feelings, and especially since it's in retrograde. Okay, we have Mercury in retrograde right now, so let's dive in. Okay, welcome to the astro weather here with Laura Francesca. And I am going to be talking about here on the moon in Aquarius. Okay, so I just jumped in here. It is at 1 degree of Aries. Okay, so it is about fire. You might be feeling a little bit more fiery, or you might be sweating right now, which I am. Okay, I actually turned off the AC because I just don't want any noise in the background and stuff. So, I'll deal with it as long as hopefully I don't have to do an hour on the podcast here, because I do have other things going on. Usually at the beginning of the month, I'm really busy. And so I got to run errands and all this other stuff that I got to do. And but I just said, let me jump on here and just especially right now. Okay, when the moon is in Aquarius, it's an air sign. It favors all air signs and fire signs. Okay, except Leo. Okay, with Leo, it opposes Leo. Wherever you have your Leo placements, and as a matter of fact, it's opposing Jupiter in Leo right now. So we'll get to that. But when the moon is in Aquarius, for me personally, it is making conjunctions, it's making trines, okay, and yeah, and sextiles as well. So it's a whole party going on there, okay. And I can't keep track of all of the placements, all the transits that are going on, because it's a lot. Okay, it's a lot of good things, though. I mean, I've waited for this moment. I didn't have such good luck like I have right now. I have a lot of bad luck, as a matter of fact. And I don't know if you could say bad luck. I mean, squares can bring you bad luck. They can bring challenges, right? And so I've had a lot of challenges in my past life. My past life. Why did I say past life? Wow, maybe I did. Maybe I did, because I meant to say in my past, but I said past life. That's interesting. See, I pick up on the things that I say, and I'm like, why did I say that? Okay, so that could be spirit telling me that, yeah, you had a lot of challenges in your past life. So in this life, you're not, I mean, I've had challenges in this life as well. But I really feel that I'm in my moment right now where I have accomplished a lot of what God has called me to accomplish. And now I'm receiving God's gifts. And, it could be via support. It could be via like giving me like little gifts and stuff. Like, when I order gifts, they give me gifts on top of that. And so I appreciate that, and what I do is that I will pretty much forward traffic back to them, if I feel led to, I will for free, you don't got to pay me for that, but I'm just grateful. I'm just grateful that and gratitude that, I got this like little, I don't know, like a gem or a necklace or something like that. I think, you don't have to send me a gift, but I'm just saying I really appreciate when these, companies, brands, when they do, as a token of appreciation, to continue the partnership and the business, right? So, especially in Aquarius, it has to do with influence. It has to do with marketing. It has to do with technology, social media, groups, people, okay? Societies, all of that. And especially in Pluto, it's about power. It's about resources. It is about billionaires, okay? But Aquarius is a sign of more of the youth. Okay, it's of innovation and young people and crowds, and especially what we're seeing right now with FIFA. Okay, the celebration and congratulations to Mexico. Oh my gosh, I am Mexican. Okay, if you did not know, my last name is Ramos. Okay, well, my I have two last names. From my dad's side is Ramos Hernandez, and from my mother's side it's Beltran. So Beltran, also I've done some genealogy and research on there, and it's also an Italian last name. It actually was founded in Italy, and but in Mexico, like in Sinaloa, because that's a very famous last name in Sinaloa, and very, very famous. And I'm not really too proud of it. I am proud of it, but I'm not proud of it that is very famous in that area because it's a cartel last name. And you know, so I mean, but I am proud that it does derive from Italy. But it got very famous in Sinaloa. So if you know another Beltran, right, that it lives in Sinaloa, then there's ties you know to that. So, but my mom has no ties to it. My grandfather had no ties to it either. It's just I don't know. I maybe his grandfather or his other grandfather, maybe they had ties to it. I don't know. Or it could have been Italy ties, because my grandfather also has German ties as well. So anyway, enough of that. But so I was talking about last time. So I am Mexican, and congratulations to Mexico for winning. For right now advancing. Is they're not they haven't won yet, but they've. I think it's the third game, right? That they've won. I don't know if it's the third or the fourth. They've been winning. They're on a winning streak. And they say that I'm not. I don't really know much about soccer, but I'm not a hardcore soccer fanatic. But I've watched games with my dad, and throughout the years, I mean, every time he tunes in the TV, so I have no choice but to listen to it, right? Or not just listen to it, but look at it. And like I see that he gets all happy when they win and so forth, and he's sometimes. He gets a little bit bummed that they lose. But this is before the FIFA. This is just like the Mexican soccer, which he sees it here in the United States because, he has this cable channel thing. So he sees the games in Mexico. And so every time, I'm either like cooking up a pizza or doing some food in the kitchen. And so he's watching the game. And so I just kind of, glance at the TV. But, usually we spend a lot of time in that way. And because that's one of his favorite sports, that and baseball. But my dad is getting on to golf as well. He watches golf on Sundays, and football. He watches football too, and I don't think he understands football, but he still watches it. So I don't know. He's very open minded. Yeah. So especially right now because he's not really a Virgo. He was born a Virgo, but his progress is a Sagittarius. So he's very open to like different type of sports. Anyway, sometimes I think like he's not even faithful to none of them. He's not. I don't think he is. But he does get excited for the Mexico game and FIFA that are playing right now, and he likes France too, and he likes Spain, and what was another? I don't know. He likes a bunch of teams. Anyway, but he's very excited for Mexico's win. They say it's been about 40 years since they last won, and it's historical. Especially for Mexicans in Mexico, it's huge in Mexico. Okay, they're like hardcore, like they start crying and everything, and then especially when they sing their anthem song, they start tearing. It's a military song about bravery and overcoming challenges, and very military song, and just the proudness of being Mexican. So congratulations to Mexico. Okay. Um, and I'm really happy to see them win. I really am, because especially being Mexican, half Mexican, I'm Mexican American, and in between other countries as well. And so, um, yeah. So anyway, here the moon in Aquarius is in the third house of communication. Okay, it is at one, like I mentioned, 1 degree of Aries is about action, of putting action. Um, it is coming together with Altar. Okay, is this star that's called Altar, and think of Altar as an eagle. Okay, so if you're running into eagles, or maybe fashion eagles, maybe you go to shopping or something, you see a shirt with an eagle, or I don't know, you go to a monument where they have eagles or something, anything like that, art or anything, then think of Altar. Okay, it's this star right now that is coming together with the moon of how we feel. Okay, and the moon right now is in the third house of communication. Okay, what are we communicating? It's also of siblings, it is of newspapers and magazines and radio stations and podcasts, which what I'm doing right now. And right now is perfect right now because it is coming together with my Jupiter. So my communication can be I might find a little bit things as I'm talking about, because Jupiter is an eye opener, and Jupiter can see. Okay. Especially as the moon is coming together with Altar, which rules the eagle. Okay. So this star Altar rules military as well. Okay. And I was born with Altar in Aquarius as well. And so what happens is with Altar, this star here that's like an eagle, okay, it's because it does rule military and all of that. Um, when you have it in, I read about Altar in Aquarius. It is well, it could be because I have it in the 10th house. So it's not for everybody. But for me personally, I have it in the 10th house of recognition, honors, applause, Purple Heart, like valor and bravery, things that you've done, right? And, where I have my fourth house is in Leo. So this pertains to where your hometown and where you come from, your roots and your lineage. And so for me, from what I understood, and I was reading on, because I just started getting into the stars and asteroids, um, and I just love it. And it just gives you a bigger picture, of things that you probably cannot see. And I love, for me, the more detailed, the better. And so from what I read was, you come from a hometown. I come from a hometown where it's feared. Okay, it's very and it's interesting because it is military. My hometown back in the days, during the Civil War. Okay, it was very Civil War. It was very military. They had horses and military, and which are now museums. They converted those into museums, and it's haunted. And but back in the days, that's what it was. It was very military. So because I do have Altar in the MC, like up in the 10th house, and my fourth house of Leo, there is this. I guess my power is like very like I have like power energy. I'm very powerful, and I could be intimidating, and because I come from a powerful hometown of military background and so forth, and I'm trying not to be intimidating. Okay, I don't want people to think I do. This is why I went blonde. Okay, because when I was a brunette, I was very intimidating. Like I didn't really attract people. The whole Scorpio would come out of me, and I just didn't like that. That I was intimidating to other people, because that's not the goal for me. I'm not even like Plutonian like that, and I just think that's for insecure people, that want to be dominating and want to be like just intimidating to people, to fear them, and I've just never been about that. Um, but um, I'm just I don't know why, but it has to do with that star, and I think it has to do with military. But yeah, I haven't went to my hometown for a while. I used to go a lot, and then I stopped going. And when I found my turtle, I didn't go back. I found my turtle in my hometown, and I'm nursing my turtle to good health, and so because he could be very rebellious. And I named him after the hometown godfather of my hometown of the port of Los Angeles. He was the godfather of the port of Los Angeles. And yeah, I'm hearing that you had to be responsible for him. Oh, God. Yes, I know. Sometimes I just wish I didn't really have him, to tell you the truth, because he does take a lot of my time. I do have to, but it's something that I have to be responsible for. If God gave me the turtle, I have to, until turtles, they last a long time, till they're like 100 years or something. So I'm gonna have him for a long time, unless something else happens, that I can't really take care of him or something. But I hope to God that that does not happen. Not three times. So anyway, now let's talk about the astrology now. See what I mean? There's that whole Jupiter. It can probably be over the top or a lot of information. So anyway, so the moon's coming together with Altar and with Pluto. Okay. So our emotions are heightened. Okay. They're deep, they're heightened. We want to go deep. We want to go high as well, because altar has to do with the ego, and it has to do with high. It's the view of, think of an eagle flying over a beach, right? And that eagle can see everything, or you could be on a helicopter, or you could be on an airplane, and you could see the view of the whole city, right? Think of that as altar, the star. So we got the moon, our emotions of how we feel right now, and the altar star, and then we got Pluto. Okay, Pluto resources. Pluto is going deep. It's in retrograde, so there's a lot of things that we are remembering about the past. A lot of memories that we are thinking about. I know I have, but I try not to stay stuck there. I understand that this is a retrograde, and it's, this too shall pass. And then once it goes forward, then we move forward. But right now, a lot of things can come. Memories. We could just think about maybe our past times. And especially at 4 degrees right now, it has to do with real estate. It could be your hometown. Okay, it could be it could also be structure and law and order and obedience and all of that. Um, ethics, all of that. Okay, so it's very much about the builder and having to build. With Pluto, it's in retrograde, so maybe what is saying is, maybe you feel of wanting to take action when it comes to communication. Maybe you want to open a new platform or something, right? And with Pluto is, resources, and it is also going deep, and is also this could be like the mysteries, like a mysterious type of podcast. Maybe you just want to talk about mystery stories or haunted houses or something. That would be really perfect for that. For right now, it would be perfect. It's aligned. Um, but if not, it would just be something to do with the past. You're remembering things of the past, and it could give you an idea, okay, for your greatest invention. And it has to do with the past. It has to do with siblings. It has to do with newspapers and magazines and the radio stations and the television. Okay. It also has to do with short travel. Okay. So you might travel somewhere and then you get the greatest idea. Like, oh my God, I just got this idea. Like, why don't we? And that's why it's good to travel. Okay. Because you do open yourself up to this new environment where you have the greatest idea ever. Right. That's what I do. I do get a lot of ideas when I'm traveling, when I'm on the metro or anything. Lately I've been riding an e-bike. So it's the latest thing right now. It's very popular and everything, and although the bus would be a little bit more cheaper, but I don't have to wait for the bus, you know, and um it just, I don't know, like earlier I hopped on one and it didn't feel the same anymore as far as riding an e-bike, you know. An e-bike, I just hop onto it and go to my destination because I run a lot of errands. And but when I was in the bus, it was just, it felt, I don't know, there was a lot of weird people in there and I'm trying to avoid them. You know, I really am. This is why I'm riding the e-bike instead. And you know, it's just me and the e-bike, and that's it. Go to my destination. You know, I don't have to be around people that probably are not well. You know, there's a lot of like drug addicts and people that are not mentally well. They're not mentally well. Okay, there's just a lot of like, I'm not trying to talk bad, but you know, they're like men that are dressed like women, you know, transgenders, I guess that's what you call them. And you just don't even know who's man, who's woman, you know what I mean? And it's so sad because they're mentally ill as well, you know? And, you know, just interesting, but I'm not trying to judge anybody. I'm just saying, you know, I'm trying to avoid, okay, those type of people that are not well in the head. And in a bike, you could just go anywhere, you know. Wish I had a car, but I know that's going to come in soon, okay? Especially because, you know, my rewards are coming from God. And I cannot wait to get that. So, in the meantime, okay, so the moon is coming together with Pluto and Altar and also Juno. Okay, Juno is the asteroid of marriages. It's at 8 degrees. Okay, so 8 degrees of transformation. So I feel that a lot of marriages right now are transforming their relationships. Maybe they're trying to make more money right now. Okay, especially if you're in the art scenes or if you're artistic, if you're a content creator, if you're an inventor, you're also anything to do with social media and groups and so forth and influence. Okay, because it also rules influencers. And right now, people are just thinking about money, you know, when it comes to partnerships and marriages and contracts that they're in. And when it comes together with Pluto, there's major, major transformation, and it has to do with the past. Okay. So it has to do with the past, maybe when you were building a business in the past, and maybe you're thinking now we can make more money, you know, maybe there's more opportunity now for that. Okay. So there could be some talks like that. Okay. Trying to strategize, trying to brainstorm, you know. And with the moon of how we feel right now of taking action, you know, it's a really great way. And what's happening, you know, in Europe, right? All the heat waves that are happening in Paris, and you know, all these other places in Europe, and I think the UK, I think in England. I'm not sure if there, but there were several places I was just like, geez, it's hot everywhere, right? Um, and luckily here in the South Bay, here in the West Coast in California, we've had really great weather. And I do have to say we're blessed for that. And so it's things like this that you got to be grateful for, because you could be in France over there in a heat wave, you know. And I cannot, honestly, I cannot stand heat. I just cannot. And I think it's because my soul, okay, has a lot of fire. Okay. And you'll know when somebody has a lot of fire if they get like acne, or they have like skin problems, or they have like acne or hives, you know, come in real quickly. A lot of that has to do with actually the nervous system, but um, skin has to do with Libra. And you like rashes, and you know, so for me, I just cannot stand the sun when it's really hot. I don't do well, you know. And so it's interesting because I'm just like, oh, I know it's gonna get hot. I just hope it doesn't get hot like France or nothing like that. I will not stand it, you know, especially in a, you know, when you live in a smaller place, right? And so those are just things to take precautions, you know, wear some SPF and all of that. Because they're I'm just grateful, like I said, I'm just grateful that we have the best weather right now, and it's really great. And I live near the beach or the waterfront, so, but you know, other people don't. They don't live near the beach. And I know in my hometown, there's no beaches in my hometown, okay? There's none. And it's just very industrial. And I'm just blessed that at least I live in a city here. And that's why we moved here, because there's ocean over here and beaches over here, and the waterfront is just right here. So much more pleasant to live than where we used to live in our hometown. There's nothing but just, dirt and like just earth based. It's very earthy. It's actually a Capricorn. To tell you the truth, it's a Capricorn. So I recently found out too. So anyway, and San Pedro, where I live, is a Pisces. Okay. It's a Pisces sun. It was born in a Pisces. This is why we're surrounded by water. So there could be some communication here that you want to talk about money, you want to talk about resources, something to do with the past. Okay. So this is diving into the past and looking at the past. And what are we going to do in today's world? What are we going to do today? What are we going to do the next 48 hours? That the moon is coming together with Pluto right now. This is some power, major, major power happening right now when it comes to resources, okay, and influence as well. And for me personally, it's coming together with Jupiter. So that's like, we got the moon, Jupiter, and Pluto. Wow, that's a trifecta in Aquarius, and the MC. So it's a whole lot. I'm not gonna say all my placements, but it's a lot of blessings, okay? And I just need to align myself with it. And sometimes it's a little bit difficult because there's too many. But, I'm just going to go after the most powerful ones, the ones that are more, you know, that I can align myself with. That's all I can do. Okay, because I'm only one person. Um, so so it's good to connect with me. Okay, it's good to listen to the podcast. It's good to get to know me, with good intentions. Okay, because there's certain people I don't trust. I'm not going to say yes to everyone. You know, but you know, if I see that you have good intentions and everything, yeah, let's partner, right? Let's work together, and so forth. So what is going on with the moon is that it is making a sextile with Neptune in Aries. Okay, so Neptune in Aries, it's about the ocean. It has to do with manifestation. Okay, it can also be, fantasy, illusion. It rules Hollywood. It rules the films. It rules the music. It rules all that in the sign of Aries. It can also be foggy, but in Aries, there's clarity. So it's not so much when it was in Pisces, it was really foggy. Okay, you could fall for so many things. And during that era, I did fall for certain businesses, and that didn't work out and so forth. And that's okay, because there was a learning lesson in that. But with Aries, there's clarity. I love Neptune in Aries. I really do. Ever since it entered, I love it. Okay. Because it's not so foggy like it was in Pisces. Okay. With Aries, there's clarity you can see through, and you can manifest way faster because it's fire, right? And it's making an opportunity here. As a matter of fact, let me, hang on one sec, with the moon. Okay. So with Aquarius. And so there's something about like invention, and then manifesting reality, even though it's Neptune, right? But we're manifesting this reality because it's conjuncting Saturn. Okay. So as a matter of fact, let me look here. Neptune. No, I don't. No, it's not. Mm-mm. The degree is a little bit more. No, it's making it an opportunity to Neptune, but Neptune and Saturn, no, it's too high in the degree. But we do have Neptune that it is making an opportunity with the moon right now, and it will make also a sextile to Saturn, okay? But it just has not reached yet. So it's on its way, okay? It might be sometime later today or tomorrow. Um, and so for right now, but that's a good thing though, okay? Because when it does sextile Saturn, well, it could be a good way or maybe not. It just depends how you want to see it, right? Because Saturn will restrict, okay? Saturn is the one that says no, okay? Saturn will restrict, it'll put rules, it'll ask you for discipline to work harder. Like, that's not good enough. I want to see more work. But it is debilitated. Okay, so it's not the strongest right now. So Saturn in Aries it's not the strongest at all during this transit. And which means that a lot of men, because Aries rules men, masculine, are going to pretty much feel debilitated, get weakened. And, so if there is a planet that is challenging it or opposing it, it's a good thing because Saturn in Aries is weak. And so that's a strategy there for those that want to strategize with Saturn. And I don't see it as the strongest as it's ever been. Like with other, I think Saturn in Capricorn, it's in its home there. That was a strong, strong. That's when I got sciatica. But in Aries is debilitated is not the best. A lot of men are feeling more weak, more tired, wanting to sleep more, exhausted, and so forth. Or wherever you have Aries. Um, so that's something that is happening. But, you know, um, when the moon does make an opportunity with Saturn, there could be a little bit of like restriction. Um, with the moon in Aquarius, okay? Either it could be social media, especially the FIFA and everything that's going on, a whole lot more peace. I said peace, okay. Something about peace. There's a whole lot more police. That's what I want to say. A whole lot more police, like with the FIFA and so forth. Because it's getting really rowdy with like, especially what's going on in Mexico and all of that. So everybody's happy, everybody's celebrating, but you do have to have police. And to be patrolling the area and making sure it doesn't get out of control. Because I have seen a couple videos where they're fighting, where the fans are fighting from the different groups and stuff, and it could be because they're probably drunk or they want to be rebellious, they want to be on film. It's so crazy because a lot of with these young people with influencers or just creating content, they're like, okay, we're gonna get into fight, film it, and then we'll post it, and everybody thinks that they're actually like really fighting, and they are really hitting each other, but they're filming it on purpose because they want to get famous. They want to go viral, right? And so I would not be paying attention to those videos. I'm not posting any of those, but I see them and I'm like, oh my God. So anyway, so a lot of that can happen. So you do need the police, right? But right now the moon is making opportunity with Neptune. So there's something about like getting famous, okay? Getting popular, putting yourself out there. Maybe you want to watch a movie. I mean, you might want to watch a movie, listen to some music, um, and or build something that is going to or manifest work on your manifestation. Today I did a meditation when I woke up in the morning, and I'm starting to do like meditations as far as like affirmations and so forth, that I find on YouTube. And I was right now I'm like listening a lot on that Neto Goddard. If you guys have heard of him, and YouTube, a lot of manifestation and stuff. And I did a meditation today, and it was really powerful. It brought me a breakthrough, that I didn't realize. And after I did the meditation, I was like, oh my gosh. So that's why, of something, that I'm going through, right? And so it just broke through something that I couldn't see before. And like I sensed it, but I didn't really think, I didn't really dive into it. I guess sometimes I'm just like, you got to put so much attention into that. And I don't know. I just, for me, like right now, I don't want to do anything that takes too much time. You know what I mean? I'm very like ADHD. And I want things fast and I want things quick. And it could be my solar chart. I have a lot of Aries. Okay. So it could be something like that too. Well, not a lot, but well, 5 placements. I think that's a lot. Um, Not placements, transits, of Aries. And so that's a lot of fire for me, because I was in my natal chart does have no Aries, only in Chiron. So anyway, and that's another podcast that I do want to talk about the importance of Chiron. Right now it's in Taurus, but the importance of Chiron and why you need to do the work, okay, to learn how to heal the things that you need to heal so you can teach others, right? But not just teaching others, it's also for yourself, okay? To master, like for instance, I was born with Chiron and Aries, and so I had a master Chiron and Aries, um, of healing my childhood wounds, right? And everything. And so, you know, the reason we do that, I feel personally, and that's something I discovered, that when you do the work of Chiron, okay, for me, it's been transiting for a number of years in Aries, and I also was born, so it's my return. I also was born with Chiron in Aries, and I did the work, of having to be brave, having to be courageous, going through fire, almost burning. I mean, I've gone through arsons and I 5 fires in a matter of like 3 years. And it's been crazy. But I realized I'd done a lot of work, and I realized that when there's a lot of fire going on around you like that, that means that your life is lit. Okay. And so you just got to make the best out of it, and you got to overcome it. But I realized that when you heal the Chiron, right now it's in Taurus, but it was in Aries. When you heal it also. Because once you heal it, and this is what I discovered, once you heal it, you do the work, okay? You don't ignore the work. There are people that ignored the work. They didn't do the work of Chiron and Aries, and they're still butthurt, right? They're still crying. They're still mad. They're still angry. I don't get angry like that no more. Okay. And I'm a one. Okay. I tend to get angry. I've been working a lot on my hormones and everything else. But I don't get angry like that no more. I just don't. Things like that don't upset me no more. And because I did the work. And it's important to do the work, because what happens when, for instance, this year I have a lot of in my solar chart, which is your birthday chart. Okay, that's one of the most important charts ever, because that chart tells you everything's going to happen to you this whole year. Okay, and it has nothing to do with your birth chart. It's just new energies that are happening this year for you since your birthday all the way to your next birthday, right? And so for this year, when on March 2026, when it was my birthday, I had a lot of fire. There was a lot of Aries going on that was transiting. So that's the solar chart. Okay. So when it's your birthday, and then you look at the what's transiting and so forth, what happens is that you're going to be going through a lot of those themes this whole year. So there was 5 transits, including Chiron, in Aries when it came to my birthday. So that's a lot of fire. So if I didn't do the healing, if I didn't do the work, the inner work that was necessary with Chiron and Aries these past few years that we've had Chiron and Aries, I think it was since was it 2018? I don't know. It's been for a number of years. I can't remember the dates, but it's been, you could Google Chiron Aries, or ask ChatGPT. But, you know, if I didn't do the work, then when the solar chart comes in, and in case there is a lot of fire going on, like there is for me this year, I wouldn't know how to work with Aries energy because I was not born with Aries energy. Now in my soul chart, which is a draconian chart, I have a bunch of Aries there. So I would have to wake up that energy, that dragon energy had I have to wake it up in order for me to be like an Aries, right? But let's say I don't want to do my soul chart. Let's say I don't want to do my draconian chart, right? And just focus on the current transits that are happening right now. Because I did the work of Chiron, now I know how to work with Aries energy, you know? So right now I have Venus in Aries. I have, well, Chiron in Aries, Neptune, Saturn, the moon, which is very, very important. I have a moon in Aries right now. Okay. So I might seem a little bit more confident, and a little bit could be my pink drink that I'm drinking or whatever. But usually the moon is very, very, very impactful, very, very, very important. The moon dictates almost everything, our feelings and how we feel and how we act and how we think as well. It rules all of that. So, and also our eating habits as well. Um, I'm somebody that I am losing weight, and I don't get as hungry, like not as hungry. I do like spicy food, and I have been smoking a whole lot more than I should, um, because that's very Aries. And so if I didn't do the work, I wouldn't know how to be an Aries. So that's why you got to do the work. And that's what I discovered. If I wouldn't have did the work of China and Aries, I wouldn't know how to do my Venus in Aries. I wouldn't know how to feel like an Aries with the moon. I wouldn't know how to be disciplined like an Aries. I wouldn't know how to manifest like an Aries, because I wasn't born with Aries energy. But a lot of people do see me like Aries. They do see me like argumentative or action based or like a baddie, and stuff like that, But it's not. I'm not trying to prove anything. I'm just the moon is how I feel, you know. And so if I've always wanted to be an Aries, well, this is a year, you know, this is a year. And that's why you have to do your Chiron work. Okay. And this goes for Chiron and Taurus right now. You got to do the work of Chiron and Taurus. And that's more different than Aries. That's more about worth. Okay. Self worth, having to elevate, having to be more worthy, having to live in a bigger house, in a bigger home, bigger community. It rules money, economies. I mean, all of that. It's very worth based, right? So you have to do that work just in case you do have a solar chart and a lot of Taurus is transiting. You'll know how to work with that energy, right? So that's just my example there, and I think I took a long time there. But anyway, so the moon here is with Pluto, and so it is making an opportunity, like I mentioned, with Neptune, and let's see here. I did want to say the moon is also trining Mars. Okay, so Mars is in Gemini. It just entered Gemini, and it's an air sign just like Aquarius. And Moon Mars, that's like, let's go. It's like taking action. And it's at 2 degrees of wealth, 2 degrees of money, of banks, how you earn your earning power. It also rules real estate, it also rules food. Okay. And it has to do with in the sign of Gemini. And the motto there is "We Are." Okay, so it can be very competitive. Gemini is about ideas, having a bunch of ideas, and so forth. A lot of people, might feel like boom, like you just want to go out there and communicate. Gemini rules communication, And we might feel more with Taurus. It was more slow. It was more about real estate. It ruled Catholicism, religion, and faith believing and so forth. But in Gemini, it's very youthful. It is very communicative. It's like kapow, especially in Mars, right? Which rules fire. So our communication can be very fire. Okay. Our words right now, pay attention to what you're saying because we're manifesting that into our lives. And especially because Mars is coming together with Uranus. Okay. Mars and Uranus coming together. And it's not exactly at 3 degrees, but it's coming really close. By 4th of July, this is the big event that everybody's talking about, okay? The astrologers are talking about of Mars conjunct Uranus exactly at 3 degrees. And they say by 4th of July, either 3 degrees or 4 degrees, somewhere around there. But 4th of July is going to be kapow, fireworks galore. Um, It could be earthquake weather. Everybody's talking about earthquakes. Okay, we've been seeing a lot of earthquakes, right? And July is going to be one of those historical months, okay, dating back to history. So, Mars and Uranus coming together, right now it's together by 1 degree apart. It's very close. Okay, it's not exact conjunction, but we're feeling it already. Okay, so we're feeling like we're just gonna like put it out there. You know what I mean? We're just gonna say it. We're not gonna be shy about it. We're just gonna say it. And in Gemini, it can be very in your face, like, I don't care. I said this in your face. So what? So there could be more arguments. So watch for those arguments, okay? Because you might get hit. Okay, watch for the knives, watch for any sharp objects as well. If you're cooking, make sure that you're not like stressed out or something, or angry or something, that you might cut your finger. It just things like that, that you have to be careful. Any metal objects, anything sharp objects and stuff, just be careful for that. And one thing I'm noticing is just like no, I'm just not going to say that. Anyway, so the moon is making a trine to Mars. Okay. So, it's how we feel. And where Mars is, it's in the seventh house. Okay. Where Mars in Gemini is in the seventh house of relationships. Okay. Like I mentioned, we are. And it's about contracts. It is about competition, open competition. It is also has to do with marriages. It could be open enemies as well. Marriages and contracts and commerce, business dealings, public relations, anything like that with the seventh house of marriages, okay, and contracts and who you sign contracts with, okay. Um, yeah, and I do want to say, it could have been, I seen a video on Louis Vuitton, right? And it all started, I always go down the rabbit hole, but it all started because I've been hearing the word Polanco, right? Polanco is this place in Mexico City that is like the next Beverly Hills, okay? And, or they say it's even more beautiful than Beverly Hills, more clean. So a lot of wealthy people live there, right? A lot of rich people live there and so forth. And so but I've been hearing the download of Polanco. So I don't know if somebody wants me to go to Polanco to travel, to live. I don't know. I could never live there, but and the reason I wouldn't live there is because I would not want to live there because, um, I don't know. I can't see myself living in Mexico, Um, it's beautiful, don't get me wrong. It's really beautiful, but my family is here, And I don't know, you know. I don't know. I would say maybe later in life, maybe have some real estate down there and I could like travel down and stay down there in my own home or something. But I would love to travel there, And so I was doing all this research and I didn't even know they even have hot air balloon rides up in the air. And I was like, what? I can't believe they have all that, right? So anyway, I was doing some research, and then, it was showing there Louis Vuitton, shops there, like in Beverly Hills. And so I went down the rabbit hole, and then I noticed that Louis Vuitton had a fashion show in Paris, and that it was really hot, but they were wearing like big fur coats and everything. So I was just looking at how they were modeling and stuff, and I was like, oh, interesting, like the colors and what kind of clothing they're wearing, right? And then and then another video popped up in my feed, of this influencer in Mexico, right? I guess she was invited there and stuff. And with her, I don't know if it was her husband or her boyfriend or whatever. And I'm not jealous or anything, you know what I mean? But I didn't know who she was. She didn't strike to me as being like, a big influencer, because usually in TikTok they have the blue check mark, right? If you're a big influencer, you would have a big, because it kind of seemed like she was like some big influencer, because she had her own plane. She went her with her boyfriend or husband, whoever he is. Um, Not the most attractive guy either. And he kind of looked like he was, from there, if you know what I mean. I don't want to say the word, but, from that group association that's in Mexico. And so, it could have been her boyfriend or somebody. They usually date influencers, because influencers influence the world, and they want to influence them. And that's why they date influencers, right? But it kind of seemed like a fake love, like they were just both in it for money and stuff. But she was invited to Paris to the Louis Vuitton fashion show. So I was like, that is weird, because I never heard of her, and she doesn't even have a blue check mark. So she does have a lot of followers in TikTok, but I think a lot of it, the influence has to do with her boyfriend or husband, whoever he is, and probably because he's part of that group. um, where I don't know, I guess within me was like, who's this girl? you know, like I've never heard of her or nothing. And the way she made it, the video seemed like, yeah, I need my bodyguards. And so definitely that's what we're like, oh, okay. He must do illicit business, her boyfriend or whatever. And that's why, they have money to do stuff like that, right? And probably because she's from Mexico, and she's an influencer and stuff like that. But she didn't strike me as somebody like super influential, or super attractive. And she was more like on the chubby side. But it was interesting. So, it was things like that where Uranus and Mars, Mars is about travel, Uranus is innovation, right? And Gemini, it rules the people, with seventh house of contracts. And um, not saying that she has a contract with Louis Vuitton, but it looked like, she had, um, she was pretty much, they treated her well in Paris or something like that. And so it was just interesting. So, with this Mars and Uranus, we can encounter things like that, of like, who is she, and stuff like that. And so as it's making a trine to the moon in Aquarius of influence, of influencer, it's aligned, right? But it's kind of like a little shady as well, where, people are just getting these kind of deals, these kind of contracts, right? Of like, yeah, let's, I'll invite you to go to Paris. Um, but it also has to do with groups, and it has to do with, influence and so forth. I don't know. Personally, if I was a brand, I would not, that's not who I would hire. But, it's probably, maybe she has a lot of attention in Mexico or something, some influence in Mexico or something. But it's just interesting. Things like that can come up right now, where there's competition with that Mars in Gemini that has to do with people and innovating. Okay, with Uranus in Gemini. Now, also, Uranus is coming together with a part of fortune. So there's a lot of luck here. Okay, the part of fortune is in Gemini as well, at 5 degrees of Leo. So this is about standing out. This is about being in the limelight. This is about Hollywood, or just filmings or videos or anything like that. coming together with Uranus. So it's a great time to maybe go to the beach and do a video. I know in Orange County they do that. There's a lot of females that influencers are always like doing videos and stuff. I could see that happening. Something pertaining to that, and or maybe something sexual or sexy, not sexual, but I would say sexy, something really sexy. I can see that, with the Mars Uranus and the part of fortune in Gemini. Okay, so I can see totally that. And it's making a trine to the moon in Aquarius. Okay, so that's very powerful right there. Really great energy. Let's see. The moon is opposing Jupiter, and that's what I want to talk about. Jupiter's in Leo. Okay, it just entered Leo for a whole year, all the way to 2027. And thank God that it moved out of Cancer. It was too emotional with Cancer. Cancer is ruled by the moon. So it dictated our emotions. Okay, so when we had Jupiter in Cancer for a whole year, but one thing I can say, it was making trines to the North Node. It was making trines to also like wherever you have Scorpio. I think there was a water grand trine where it was trining I think Mars was in Scorpio too. So there was a lot of, it was like Jupiter, Mars, and then the North Node or something like that. And so we've seen a lot of water grand trines. Okay. So there's been a lot of theme elements of water, potent, times as well, and then we got the star Formaha that is right next to the North Node, okay, in Pisces. So that has been a really huge as well. And let me look at, yeah, see right now, the North Node right now in Pisces is at 0 degrees. Wow. It's at 0. It's ready to leave. And we got Formaha, the star, at 4 degrees. Okay. So these are very, heightened energies and frequencies near the water. And where it's at right now, where the North Node is at right now, is in the fourth house of real estate, ancestry. It has to do with roots and lineage. Okay. Your home and so forth. That's where Formaha is as well. So if you live near a beach, more likely the waves are pretty high right now. Or there's something that's being heightened in your home, in your community, with your ancestors, with your ancestry, some sort of ancestry and lineage and roots that is very heightened right now in the sign of Pisces, in the fourth house of real estate. It could probably be high prices. Maybe they're going to start, especially with Jupiter and Leo, people think like, oh, let's rise the prices, because it's all about luxury. Not everybody can afford that luxury. And especially, a lot of people think like, oh, it's luxury time. And it is about putting yourself out there. It's not just luxury. It's about standing out and putting yourself out there, because it is in opposition with Pluto. Okay. And the moon right now in Aquarius. Okay, so the opposition here would be from people, circles, groups, the youth, okay, the rebellious youth right now that oh my God, they're so passionate right now over the FIFA. But can you imagine how passionate they are for the FIFA, but they're also rebellious? I've seen some other videos of this one girl in Mexico, and she was like a pretty girl or whatever. She was really young, and well, not really young. I think she was like maybe like 25, 26 around there. And she threw water at the Ecuador, some man from Ecuador. He had a yellow sports shirt on. And it was, I think she wanted to go viral or something. And she threw water at him, and he was coming at her. And somebody that she was standing right next to, another man from Mexico with a green shirt, told her, no, why did you do that? You shouldn't have did that or something. So here comes the man from Ecuador he's talking shit to her and saying, why are you doing that? Where's your self-respect? Why do you got to throw me water with ice? And I don't know why she just wanted to be rebellious, So can you imagine that kind of rebellion that is opposing Leo in Jupiter, because you're standing out or whatever it is. I mean, still stand out, you know, put yourself out there, right? But be strategic how you do it, because you will get opposed by groups, by enemies, by circles, by the youth, by young people. That's why to me, I was very careful of not saying, commenting certain things about some young people, because I'm just like, I do not want to get chewed on by their fanatics. They're going to come at me. I said, no, Laura, be smart about what you say out there, how you comment, because they will come and bite you. Okay. They will come and get you. So, well, literally attack me, try to attack me online, and I'm like, I'm good. I don't need drama, so that's something to think about. Do you need drama? Do you want clout? Well, then put yourself out there like that and say whatever you want to say. And, these rebellious people here with the moon and Pluto, are going to do something rebellious, right? So that is, with the moon opposing Jupiter, that's what can happen, or maybe you have a huge ego or you're showing off. Here comes the moon and Pluto and Aquarius, and it's going to tell you like it is. Okay. Like you have a huge ego and you're showing off too much, and, and stuff like that. So just watch out for that. Okay. Maybe they see your true colors and they're going to tell you like it is. Um, let's see. The moon is also trining. Oh, yeah, I did say the moon trining Uranus as it comes together with Mars in Gemini. Um, the moon is sextiling Neptune. We talked about that. The moon conjuncting Pluto. We talked about that. The moon is squaring Chiron right now in Taurus. Okay. So there's something that we would have to heal. Oh, well, I'm already almost out of here. Okay. The moon is going to be challenged, something that we need to heal when it comes to self-worth, so don't compare yourself with anybody else. As an example, just, continue doing what you're doing, or do anything that makes you feel good. Today I went on a shopping spree. So, at the Dollar Tree, and they had some really good, because I needed some jelly. I needed some jelly for my cheeks, and I knew that they had some there, and I ran out of mine. So I said, "Oh, I seen that they had some there. So let me just go grab it." And also organization things. I love all the organization that they have there. So I bought some for like the kitchen and stuff like that, shelves and all that, and so like laundry baskets as well and all that stuff. But I also seen the jelly thing for the makeup, and I just love it because I use it on my lips and I use it on my cheeks, and that's it. I don't really wear a lot of makeup. Like I'm trying not to wear like a lot of makeup, which I don't, but the whatever you see, that's the chat GPT. That's enhanced with color. That's not really, what my picture looks like. So that's just, it enhances when you do a thumbnail and stuff with chat GPT. But anyway, yeah, so, just do things that make you feel good, you know. Um, for me, shopping makes me feel good, because I bought a lot of things that I really needed. I needed a lot of things. And I also seen the power wash, which is so weird. I seen the power wash. I'm not trying to promote Dollar Tree here, but usually at the market, the power wash costs to wash dishes. Okay. That one, I forgot the brand. What is it called? Not Glade. I forgot. Just to wash the dishes, the power wash, it costs like almost $7 at the supermarket. And I seen that they had it there for $5. So I was like, oh my gosh, it's $1 cheaper. So I'm just gonna get it because that's my favorite. I cannot wash dishes with any other soap, so I have to wash it with power wash. Because with that, I'm like, I finish my washes, my dishes so fast. With the power wash, I just go psh, 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 and that's it, and just wash it off, But with the other soap, it takes forever for me to wash the dishes. I don't know what it is. I think that just the spray is much more faster. Whatever helps me to do things faster, I'm gonna do it. And so I'm all about fast, fast, fast right now. So anyway, this is the astro weather for today. My mouth is dry. I need to drink something. So anyway, if you guys did like the episode, do like, do share, do subscribe, and that way I can, well, we as in, we as in everyone, right, can be more aware of the energies that are happening and what to expect. It just jumped into Aquarius. Next 48 hours is going to be pretty rebellious, especially with the whole games and the FIFA and so forth, technology, social media, all of that. It is opposing, Jupiter, but once it goes in a higher degree, like by tonight or something, it's not going to be opposing it. It's going to be off that degree, so that's a good thing. Okay. So it doesn't oppose it for the completely for the 48 hours, well, as far as the moon goes, okay, because the moon, it moves degrees. So if it goes to a higher degree, it's not going to oppose Jupiter. But Pluto is going to oppose it. Pluto is there for a while. It's in retrograde. It's stuck in retrograde right now at 4 degrees. So Pluto is opposing Jupiter. Okay. So there could be some kind of losses or some kind of things that you're going to have to let go in order for you to expand, in order for you to be more luxurious, in order for you to stand out more, right? So those are some of the themes that can happen. So anyway, I hope you guys enjoy the podcast, and I will talk to you tomorrow. Good day.